All right, let's just dive right in. Today, we are tackling a really uncomfortable, but, well, a powerful idea that comes straight from evolutionary logic. It's all about the hidden advantage of betrayal. So I want you to forget what you've been taught about loyalty being the ultimate virtue. We're going to explore why, from a pure survival point of view, being a traitor at the perfect moment isn't a flaw, it's actually a feature.
To really get this, let me just paint a picture for you, a simple, high-stakes scenario. Imagine you and another person are sprinting for your lives. You're running from this massive forest fire. You can feel the heat on your back, the smoke is filling your lungs, you're in pure survival mode.
And then, bam, the person you're with, they trip. They go down hard. They're on the ground, and that wall of fire is closing in fast. You have maybe a split second to make a choice.
So what's the move? The calculation is just brutal. If you stop to help them, there's a good chance you both get consumed by the fire. You both die. But if you keep running, you know you'll live.
And that right there, that is the core, unsettling idea of this whole explainer. In that moment, evolution is not giving you points for being a good person. It has one single, ruthless metric. Did you survive? Your loyalty means absolutely nothing if you don't live to pass on your genes.
So, this brings us to our first section. We need to break down this fundamental clash between the moral code society teaches us and the survival code that's hardwired into our biology.
I mean, on one hand, we're taught this very simple rule. Loyalty is good, period. It's a pure virtue. But on the other hand, evolution is running a much, much colder calculation. It knows that unthinking, blind loyalty can literally be a death sentence. Strategic survival is always, always the better bet.
Okay, so let's take this from raw gut instinct and move it into the world of cold, hard logic. This is where we get into game theory, which asks a really brutal but revealing question about what it actually takes to win. This is what game theory is so good at. It just strips away all of the emotion, all the talk about what's noble. It asks a very simple question. If the only goal is to survive, what strategy gives you the best odds? Not what feels good, not what sounds righteous, what wins.
And this is perfectly illustrated by a classic thought experiment you've probably heard of, the prisoner's dilemma. It's just a fantastic model for understanding why two totally rational people might choose not to cooperate, even when it seems like it's the best option for everyone.
So here's how it works. Look at the table. If you and your partner both stay loyal, you both keep your mouths shut, you both get a light punishment. That's the ideal outcome for the team. But, and this is the huge but, you can't know what they're going to do. If you stay loyal and they betray you, you get the worst possible punishment while they walk free. If you both betray each other, you both suffer, but it's not as bad as being the only sucker who stayed quiet. So what's the safest bet for you?
And there's your answer. This is what we call the traitor's advantage. Your loyalty is a massive gamble. Its success depends completely on somebody else's choice. But betrayal? Betrayal protects you from the absolute worst-case scenario, no matter what the other person does. From a purely rational self-preservation standpoint, it's the smartest move.
Okay, so that's a single dilemma. But what happens when that same logic plays out over millions of years of evolution? Well, that brings us to our next section, understanding the winning strategy that nature itself ends up selecting. Think about it in the long term. Imagine a tribe where loyalty is absolute. A bad leader comes along, tells everyone to follow them off a cliff, and they do. That tribe gets wiped out. Their genes are gone. But in a tribe that practices conditional loyalty, some members are willing to defect when they see a fatal path ahead. The group might split, yeah, but the defectors live on. Over time, the gene for blind loyalty literally just vanishes.
And this all leads to a really stark conclusion. It's a memorable line for a reason. Nature's game isn't about creating moral paragons. It's about figuring out which strategies lead to survival and reproduction. Nothing else matters. Full stop. But, and this is important, this is not a license for just chaotic, impulsive betrayal. That doesn't work either. Success in this game is all about one thing: timing. Perfect timing is the difference between being a failed traitor and being hailed as a pragmatic survivor.
You see, a successful defection isn't an impulse. It's a calculated strategy. It starts with building trust, getting inside, and gaining information. Then you're constantly assessing risk, watching for any shifts in power. The move, the switch, is only made at the precise moment the cost of being loyal finally becomes greater than the risk of betrayal. It's a cold, pragmatic calculation. Okay, so once you get this framework, this pattern of strategic betrayal, you will start seeing it absolutely everywhere. So let's talk about how this ancient survival strategy plays out in our modern world, right now.
I mean, seriously, think about it. In politics, allies flip the second the power dynamics change. In war, generals defect when they see defeat is inevitable. In business, top executives bail on a failing company to save their own careers, often with a golden parachute. Even in our own lives, people quietly distance themselves from friendships that have become a liability.
It all just comes down to perspective. We put a moral judgment on it. We call it selling out or being disloyal. But from a purely evolutionary point of view, it's simply adaptive intelligence. It's an organism responding to changing conditions in a way that maximizes its own survival. Now, I'm sure that everything we've talked about so far is probably causing some discomfort. And you know what? That's the point. This idea directly challenges the moral stories we tell ourselves, and that brings us to our final uncomfortable truth. And here it is. This is the core of our internal conflict. Publicly, we praise unwavering loyalty. It's the foundation of our society. And yet, there's a part of us, maybe a secret part, that admires the person who gets out, the one who survives a disaster, even if it meant leaving others behind. We praise the loyal, but we admire the survivor. And this leads to a pretty cynical, but often true, conclusion. The traitors who fail, they're condemned. They're forgotten. But the traitors who succeed? Oh, they're not called traitors. They're called pragmatists, visionaries, even revolutionaries. And they are the ones who get to write the story.
So, as we wrap this up, this is the question I want to leave you with. In the grand, unforgiving audit of evolution, there is no column for faithfulness. There's only one question that determines whether you become a historical footnote or an ancestor. Did your strategy, whatever it was, actually work?
And that leaves us with this final and kinda chilling thought. In any system, social, political, biological, you name it, the most dangerous player isn't the loyal one you can always count on. It's the one who is smart enough to know the precise moment when loyalty stops being an asset and becomes a fatal liability.